It's easy to lose a sense of connection living in a city.
But when you bring people together,
it starts to really feel like home.
This isn't just an idea. It's happening on the ground and around the world every day.
Whatever you think of Uber, you can't say it's short of ambition. The tech company was founded just 6 years ago in San Francisco. It's now worth £30 billion and growing fast.
Uber's mission is to go to every major city in the world and roll out an efficient, convenient, elegant transportation system. I like to think that Uber is creating a new way of getting around cities.
Uber started off in London and now it's in 9 or 10 big cities across the UK. The idea, the boss says, is to be in every single major UK city in the end. And if you haven't used it before, this is how it works. So you turn your smartphone on and the first thing you see is a map that comes up on screen, and you select where you want to be picked up from, and then it sends it all out to all the Uber drivers in the area. One of them can accept it, and it brings up a photo of the driver, the car, the registration plate, and says how long it'll be until the driver gets here. Like I say, in this case, 4 minutes. You just go down to the bottom of the road and meet them. But in this brave new world, not everyone is happy. James Farrar has been an Uber driver for almost a year. Like all the others, he's self-employed. Now he's part of a group taking legal action against the company in what could be a landmark case.
The flexibility is really great. You know, you can switch on the app and work whenever you want. You can stop whenever you want and go home. The only problem is that if you're not working, you're not earning, and the earnings are so much lower than I expected, and it's really starting to bite now.
And you're noticing it change, are you? Is it more difficult to make money now in your mind than it was 6 months ago?
Most definitely. The effect is that, look, you know, there's a certain amount of money you need to earn each day, and you just have to stay out longer and longer until you earn it.
The main problem, says James, is the number of cars on the streets. Since last year, the number of British drivers on Uber's books has grown from 7,000 to more than 20,000. At the same time, Uber has cut the fares that customers pay, and from next week will increase the commission it takes from new drivers.
You know, my average net in July was $5.03 an hour, well below minimum wage. So if you want to cover your costs and keep the family afloat, you've got to work a lot of hours.
But at the end of the day, it's your choice, right? I mean, you don't have to work for Uber. You could work for someone else, get another job.
Yeah, it's true. But, you know, Uber has so aggressively come into the market. I think those opportunities to work for other operators are rapidly evaporating.
James and the other drivers involved in the legal action say the way Uber operates means they're not really self-employed entrepreneurs at all, but working for the company, and so should get the rights that go with it.
And would they have to pay?
Lawyers say more than 100 Uber drivers, backed by the GMB union, are now looking to take similar action, with the first cases likely to be heard very soon.
What we want to do is make sure that these drivers get workers' rights. So it's the rights that anybody who works is entitled to, and we're talking about things like minimum wage, the right to paid holiday, so that they can, you know, a lot of these drivers work 50, 60, 70 hours per week. They should be entitled to paid time off for doing that work. It's great that these new technology companies exist, but, you know, all we're asking is that they treat the people who work for them in the same way that every other worker is entitled to be treated.
At the centre of this row then is the relationship between Uber and the people who drive Uber cars. And we've been passed copies of the contracts which drivers now have to sign. And what's interesting is if you compare the contracts these days from the earlier ones from a couple of years ago. So drivers used to be called partners. Now the new contracts are at pains to point out there is no partnership between both sides. And in fact, rather confusingly, drivers these days are called customers. And these documents also set out the terms under which a driver can be deactivated from the system, as they put it. So you're no longer sacked under this arrangement, but deactivated from the system. And that includes things like dropping below a certain star rating as set by the people in the back of your cabs, and also Here, if you say anything that may cause harm to Uber's brand, reputation or business, so presumably that means if a driver says anything disparaging about the company, under these terms and conditions, they can just be kicked off the system.
The flexibility.
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 Being able to log on and log off as I please.
You can choose the hours.
It is only a small number taking legal action, and there will of course be many happy Uber drivers, as the company points out in its marketing.
You can work whenever you want.
The money's going directly into my account.
At Uber's new headquarters in a skyscraper in London, the boss says this new way of working is all about choice.
Many of our drivers have moved from traditional jobs where they had to work prescribed shifts and a certain number of hours a week, and it was difficult to take time off. And they've chosen to work with Uber because of that flexibility. The fact that you can work literally whenever you want, that's the flexibility that the majority of Uber drivers are really looking for.
But can't you have that flexibility and have rights like holiday pay and the minimum wage?
Looking at what drivers take home is something that we look at very, very carefully. What we find is that most of the drivers using the app actually take home around 15 or 16 pounds an hour. Obviously their costs vary hugely depending on whether they rent or own and a number of other factors, but the majority of them are actually making around 10 or 12 pounds an hour even after those costs.
It's an injustice what Uber's doing to you.
But this isn't the first time there's been anger about Uber and the way it works. There have been small-scale demonstrations in the US. Just last month, there was even a strike by drivers there over pay, though it appears the impact was limited.
Right, it's just round the corner now.
In this country, it's not easy to get a sense of how many drivers are unhappy, but we tried anyway with a small, unscientific test.
Hi mate, can I get the front? Is that okay?
Over one afternoon, we took 5 short Uber rides across London as normal passengers. We asked each of the drivers about the company, their job, and the money they were taking home.
Thank you very much indeed.
We're not pretending it was scientific, but of the drivers we spoke to, 2 did say they liked the flexibility of Uber and had no real complaints. One said he was very happy with the arrangement, with no downsides really. Another said the only reason his old colleagues are not signing up is because they would have to start paying tax. But 2 of the drivers we spoke to were worried about their incomes being squeezed. One said it's harder to make money because there are just too many drivers out there. And from another, it's about time Uber took responsibility like a proper employer.
Is there a danger here that Uber as a company sort of wants to have its cake and eat it? You want to treat these drivers as self-employed entrepreneurs, but on the other hand, you want to tell them exactly what to do.
Uber drivers are completely free to work whenever and wherever they want, so long as they live up to the quality standards on the platform. I don't know of any other opportunities that are so flexible.
So, the future of transportation, maybe. But this row is bigger than that. Some think the way Uber does business could be a model, not just for cab companies, but for the rest of the economy. And if that happens, this one firm could change far more than the way we get home on a wet Friday night.